Hello, and welcome to this lecture on taking risks as a leader. All of life is a risk of some kind. Whenever you engage in any action where the outcome is uncertain for any reason, you are taking a risk. You take a small risk when you drive to work or walk across the street. You take a larger risk when you start a business or invest a sum of money. You take a risk whenever you venture into the unknown, where your possibilities and probabilities cannot be determined to an exact degree. From the time you get up in the morning until the time you go to bed at night, and even when you are sleeping, you are facing risk to some degree. The issue then is not whether or not you take risks. The issue is how skillful you are and therefore how confident you are in taking the right risks for the right reasons in pursuit of the right goals or objectives. It is a fact that every great leap forward in human life begins with a giant step of faith into the unknown. Men and women who accomplish wonderful things are invariably men and women of great faith and confidence in themselves and their abilities. The better you become at analyzing and assessing risk and then avoiding as much of the risk as possible, the more competent and more capable you will become, and the more successful you will be. There are basically 5 types of risk for you to consider. The first type is the simplest. It is the risk that is not yours to take. It is the decision that you do not have to make or the gamble that you do not have to engage in. Every action has a consequence and often creates the need for further actions, either to follow up or to remedy what happened. But the rule of thumb is whenever you can delegate an act entailing uncertainty, you can reduce your risk of losing time and money and can increase your likelihood of long-term success. The second type of risk is the risk that is unnecessary. You engage in an unnecessary risk when you act precipitously, without sufficient information, or without taking time to think it through carefully in advance. Many of the mistakes that you have made have occurred because you acted without thinking. That is, you acted without taking the time to minimize the risks involved. The third type of risk is the risk that you can afford to take. In these cases, the cost of failure is very low, while the rewards of success can be very great. Buying an inexpensive product or service, trying a new restaurant, and going out with a new person all are risks entailing uncertainty that you can afford to take because the downside is limited. Perhaps the worst that could happen is that you would experience a little bruise to your ego. The fourth type of risk is the risk that you cannot afford to take. The consequences of making a mistake would be too enormous. You cannot afford to commit all your resources to a single project and have your entire success or failure hinge on the outcome of that project. People in the world of investing talk about the importance of spreading one's risks. No individual and no company should be dependent upon 1 or 2 people for their financial well-being. One of the best ways to minimize risks is to develop alternatives to what you are currently doing. The more alternatives you have, the lower your risk, and the higher your likelihood of success. The fifth type of risk is the risk that you can't afford not to take. The downside may be costly, but the upside is so exciting that it is very much worth taking a chance to go after it. Sometimes you will be given a job opportunity that you can't afford not to take. Although there's always a potential loss involved, the upside may be tremendous. Similar to what we discussed during our vision lectures, a very good way to overcome the fear of risk-taking is to set clear, written, measurable goals for yourself and then to review those goals regularly. When you have clear goals and plans, and you continually work on them and evaluate your progress each day, you will see what you're doing right and how you could improve your performance. You will feel more confident and capable and better about yourself. You will become more thoughtful and more reflective and willing to take on even greater challenges in the future. You'll feel like the master of your fate and the captain of your soul. And your fears of taking risks will become smaller and smaller. One of the very best ways to develop your ability to take intelligent risks is to consciously and deliberately do the things you fear one step at a time. You don't have to leap out of an airplane without a parachute. That is not risk-taking. That is simply being foolish. What you do have to do is resist your natural tendency to slip into a comfort zone of complacency and low performance. Take any fear that you may be experiencing and treat it as a challenge and as an opportunity to grow and to become a better person. Face the fear, control the fear, master the fear, and continue to move forward regardless of the fear. This is the mark of a leader. Remember, the future belongs to the risk takers.